I just finished watching all 8 episodes of Spider Noir. Should I watch this in black and white, as you see right here, or in color? So what I did is I watched the first 3 episodes of the show, and I got all nostalgic. Kind of felt like Humphrey Bogart movie, like Casablanca, or one of those early movies. It was good for a while. And then I said, do I really want to sit here and watch this, the whole 8 episodes in black and white, when Amazon gave me a choice? I could stay with this, or I could watch it in color. And then I thought about it for a while. In our world, we see everything in color. We live in a colorful world. And even back then, there's no spoiler. People back in the 1930s, 1940s, everyone saw things in color, right? Color is all around us. Even if they were given a choice back then in the 1950s, do they want to see this TV show in black and white, or do they want to see it in color? Everyone will pick color. So then I switched it to color. And here I am. Before, you couldn't see my gorgeous red shirt or anything else. So I think the debate, should you watch it in black and white? Should you watch it in color? I think that's kind of settled. If you want to get all nostalgic, then go right ahead. You could switch it to black and white, but I think you want to come back to color, because the reason being is that you're going to miss out on some of the characters' uniforms, especially one of the character that dresses up in really sharp suits, Robbie Robertson. He works for the Daily Bugle. He's a journalist, a freelance journalist, and he wears these amazing suits. And you want to see Kat as well, because she has amazing dresses. But let's dive in a little bit to this show. I'm not a huge comic book geek. I wasn't raised up on comic books at all. So my recollection, my memories of Spider-Man was way, way back to the early cartoons. Yeah, right over here. That's the Spider-Man that I grew up with. I know, it's kind of campy right now, kind of cheesy, but that's the way that the shows were back then. That's the way that cartoons were developed. The thing that I always liked about Peter Parker is that he's just a regular guy. He doesn't have billions of dollars like Bruce Wayne. He's not suave and sophisticated like Tony Stark. No, he's not at all. He's geeky and adorable, and we like him for that. And speaking about adaptations, Spider-Man has developed. It started off way back in 1962. I thought it was longer. When I did my research, because I don't know much about the comic book world, I just thought Spider-Man was a much earlier comic book. But no, 1962, that's when it started. And then it adapted, and the writers adapted and changed with the times. And then as you know, the Tobey Maguire movies, those were absolutely incredible. They did well. And I was having a conversation with my wife. We're trying to figure out who plays the best Peter Parker out of all of the Peter Parkers. And we settled on Tobey Maguire because he's just nerdy, right? He's the ultimate Peter Parker. The person that plays him well in the suit, I think, is Garfield. Andrew Garfield, that's his name, in The Amazing Spider-Man. When he has the suit on, he plays him well. But when he's just Peter Parker, Andrew Garfield's adaptation, he's too cool for school. He's too sophisticated. I want my Peter Parker to be a nerd. And then on top of all that, you have Tom Holland, who is an amalgamation of all of them, because he plays a good nerd when he's just Peter Parker, and he plays an incredible hero when he puts on the mask. A while back, when I heard that they're going to make a Spider Noir, and it's going to be with Nicolas Cage, I had my doubts. Because Nicolas Cage is one of those actors that always plays himself. In every movie that he's in, he's always Nicolas Cage. He's not one of these method actors that could transform himself all the time like a Tom Hanks or a Denzel Washington or any of these type of actors. He's not like that. What you see with Nicolas Cage is pretty much what you get. But one of my favorite Nicolas Cage movies? Maybe this one, Con Air. Remember that? Con Air was amazing. This is when you had ripped, buffed, with a long hair Nicolas Cage. Then when they said that he's going to play Spider, I said, no, this cannot be good. There's a long list of other actors that I'll rather have in a Spider-Man noir. But then I started watching it, and then I changed my mind immediately, because all of the things that makes Nicolas Cage kind of quirky and all of his idiosyncrasies works well with Ben Reilly. That's the name of the character that he plays in this 1933 noir adaptation of Spider-Man. And he's great in it, because with him, you have a gritty, almost defeated character as Ben Reilly. A few years prior to this, he was the savior of the city. He was the Spider-Man of that universe. But because of a tragedy with Ruby, the love of his life, he lost all of his passion. He gave up the suit. He became a hard-boiled private detective, and he loves his alcohol, and that was his life. And then finally, he was brought back into the fight, back into wearing the uniform again. And how that works is incredible in the story. And speaking about incredible parts of the story, is that they depicted his powers in a different type of way. I think the writers were smart in this. They didn't want to make his powers feel too relatable or too familiar. They could have easily did that. They could have easily stuck to the way that you have Tobey Maguire, that you have Tom Holland portray him on screen when it comes to the spider sense. But even when the spider sense hits him, and you hear like the bones cracking, it feels real. And also when you have him shoot his webs, the spider web looks more alien looking. Just to back up a little bit, I'm not the greatest comic book geek, but I've always enjoyed Spider-Man ever since I was young. But this version of him, I thought it was going to take me a long time to get used to it, but I liked it right away. Because I like when a writer takes chances. As a writer, I like to take chances with my characters as well. And so they put him into a noir. And of course, this whole thing is a trope, and I'm going to get to tropes very soon. But here is 5 things that I like about this, especially if you are a writer from a writer's point of view. So here we go. Visuals dictate tone. Because you had a choice of going either black or white or color, that changed the mood. Because as I said, I was watching it for the first 2 episodes in black and white. It felt different. It felt strange in a good way. And then I switched it to color, and then wow, my universe kind of expanded. That's a good thing. Number 2, embrace character flaws. Ben Reilly has a lot of flaws. He's haunted by his past. He's also a former soldier as well. He was involved in World War I. So he has a lot of things going on in his mind. I think, though, that the best characters are the flawed, are the damaged characters. We can kind of relate to them better. I think that's why a lot of people, they enjoy Spider-Man, because he's not like other heroes that seems to have it going on all the time, going on well. There's problems. And with Ben Reilly, in this case, there's tremendous difficulties and burdens that he has to overcome. Number 3, refresh classic tropes. As I said, this is a trope, the whole noir experience. I was writing a noir even before I knew about Spider Noir. I was writing part 1 and part 2 of a story that also took place in the 1930s, 1935 to be precise. And it stars a detective who's haunted by the past, and it stars a gorgeous temptress that walks into his office. And also the city is infested with crime. So some of the same elements, but in my story, there's a little bit of a time traveling aspect. So you could take classics and turn them on their head. And that's what they did with this one. Number 4, ground the bizarre. This story is bizarre, flat out. You have people with supernatural abilities. And whenever you have a bizarre story, it's good to add a little bit of realism into it. And that's what they've done here, because this takes place during the Great Depression. And so that already adds weight to it. And this is them coming off of World War I, because Ben Reilly's character, and by the way, he's not called Peter Parker in this world, it's Ben Reilly. It's a totally different character. It's a different universe, if I didn't mention that from the top. Different universe entirely. Nevertheless, he was involved in World War I. So it already grounds the bizarre into something that is real. You could do that as well when you're writing your stories. Number 5, contrast builds tension. Because at the heart of this story is a detective story, and then you have this supernatural or super powerful beings, it already has tension because these two worlds usually are far apart from each other. They're in their silos, but they're brought together into this story. So that's a good idea. If you want to create different elements to your story, think about two genres that are night and day from each other and merge them together. And then see what happens. See if you could bridge the gap. See what type of tension could unfold. So overall, yeah, I'm pleasantly surprised with Nicolas Cage's performance. And I think you will be as well if you are to suspend some of your disbelief. It helps. The writer, the person telling the story is not just that person that's just bringing it on the screen. There's a dance that happens with the viewer, with you watching the material and the people performing the material. So there's a dance involved. You have to be a good dance partner. You have to go a little bit with where they're leading you. And if you don't go with where they're leading you, then you're not going to get any of these type of stories. So I enjoyed it. I'm not sure if you did. Let me know who is your favorite all-time Spider-Man or your favorite adaptation. I was having this conversation off air with my wife, and her favorite, I think of all time, is Tobey Maguire's portrayal. I think she's probably right. You can't deny how he's like on camera. But I'd like to hear from you. But in terms of overall adaptation, just to be a completely different take of Spider-Man, I think my favorite of all time is this one. The look and the feel. I'm not talking about necessarily the character of Spider-Man himself, but the world around him and the world building. I've never seen anything like this before. Who knows? I may even go out and buy the comic book By the way, there is a comic book about this, and the comic book was launched, I believe, in 2008. But again, I'm not a hardcore comic book geek, so I could be wrong. But around there, around 2008, Spider Noir came out. So I may get myself a copy. Leave a comment down below. Let me know what you think of the overall performance of Nicolas Cage, and did he pull this off? And are you watching it in black and white, or are you watching it in color? Also, I host a sci-fi show called Welcome to Earth Stories. We're going on season 9. All the details is in the show description, or you could go to welcometoearthstories.com. Well, that's about it for me. Thank you so very much for watching. This is York, and I'll talk to you soon.